For decades in the KEFFESO communities of Koloama 1, Koloama 2, Ekeni, Ezetu 1, Ezetu 2, Fishtown, Foropa, Sangana, Okumbri Beleu, Opu Okumbri, and Oginibiri of Bayelsa State, life has been defined by contradiction. Beneath their land and waters lie vast oil and gas reserves. But within the communities themselves, development remains emerging and scattered. The communities are threatened by erosion and sea encroachment, alongside perennial flooding, which often leads to loss of property and livelihood systems. All KEFFESO communities are located in the saltwater region. Thus, access to clean water is limited, forcing families to depend on hand-dug deep wells and rainwater harvesting and other sources. Paved roads were non-existent or impassable, cutting off movement, trade, and emergency response. Schools are in disrepair, under-resourced, scantily populated, and unable to support sustained proper learning. Health facilities, where they exist, are poorly equipped and without medical personnel, leaving many to travel long distances to the state capital for basic health care. For young people, opportunities are scarce. Skills development is minimal and employment pathways are unclear, and frustration is steadily growing. Over time, these conditions did more than limit development. They shaped expectations, eroded trust, and reinforced a cycle of neglect.
We normally dig ground and water will come out. We used to fetch from there to drink and bath. Sometimes even those water, when we bath them, our body will be scratching us.
When I come here as a health worker, say make I bath, then give me water where they scratch my body. Now well water, and when rain fall, the rain water from the ground they enter the well. So as a health worker, I now advise that this water no good though, and if I drink them, it dey salty, and I be this BP patient somehow. So once I drink my BP go just trigger, it go high. So I begin to advise and say make they need to drink this water.
How do you read this from January dam? We dey suffer from water. Everywhere water go dry finish. Management from booze in the manage.
We dey lack town hall, a good road, toilet houses, and also lights. If light day for the community, everybody go dey happy, say light day.
Then came a structural shift, KEFFESO. The KEFFESO Host Community Development Trust was established under Nigeria's Petroleum Industry Act of 2021, redefining how host communities participate in and benefit from oil operations. It marked a decisive transition from the limitations of memorandums of understanding, often inconsistent, opaque, and externally driven, to a structured, legally backed system that funds development, promotes local participation, and reduces conflict across the Niger Delta host communities. With support from First Exploration and Petroleum Development Company and NNPC, development in these communities was no longer externally determined or intermittently delivered. It became structured, predictable, and community-owned.
The fundamental difference here now is the PIA has come with more robust funding. The fund of the 3% OPEX is more, huge than that of the GMOU, and so the scope at which this takes is bigger than the scope at which the former one was taking.
The trust introduced a fundamentally participatory model anchored in local governance, guided by transparency and designed for long-term sustainability. Rather than isolated interventions that addressed symptoms, KHCDT adopted a systems-based model, one that connects infrastructure with economic opportunity, education with future pathways, and healthcare with overall community resilience. This is still a positive work in progress.
We have an education intervention program which basically deals with the provision of service personnel to the schools. Previously, we had a situation whereby in some of the schools we had only one head teacher. In some schools we have 2 teachers. So what we did was to engage community-engaged teachers that reside within the community.
In this model, internal concrete walkways are not just physical access routes, they are economic lifelines. Clean water is not just a service, it is a public health intervention. Education is not simply schooling, it is a pipeline to opportunity.
GSM and computer repairs, garment making.
At the center of this transformation is a redistribution of power. Development priorities are no longer imposed by outside institutions nor shared with the development partners' ethics or distant offices. They are defined within the communities themselves through structured engagement, collective decision-making, and representative governance. Men and women, youth and elders, traditional leaders and emerging voices all participate in shaping what development looks like and where resources are directed. This process does more than identify needs. It builds consensus, strengthens accountability, and ensures that interventions reflect lived realities rather than assumptions. It is this shift from passive reception to active leadership that is gradually redefining development across the KEFFESO communities.
The PIA, for example, has provided that projects must be, that the sector must design in collaboration with the community a community development plan for 5 years. And so what you find is a 5-year plan ensures continuity.
Because this system has brought about ownership and community identifying what they need. Oftentimes, before now, government will come and implement any project in your community without knowing what the community actually needs. And most time when they put in infrastructures, you discover that it's not what the community needs, and therefore sustaining it or making use of it becomes so nonsense. But this time around, it's the community that is driving their development, managing their fund, knowing what to do and what exactly to apply the fund for.
Education, once constrained not just by failing infrastructure, but mere absence of teachers, is being systematically restored. Schools that previously struggled with only one teacher now have adequate community teachers sponsored by the KHCDT. 115 government teachers receive monthly stipends to support and encourage them to remain at their duty post. A holistic education strategy targeted at sustainably transforming the education status of the KEFFESO communities is already in the pipeline.
So at present we have about 90 something teachers. Before we had 78, then we recently engaged 23 from the 3O communities. So we have those teachers on ground. We also have education monitors.
This is a government school. Only 2 government teachers were in this school, including me. The other ones, 2 of them were non-academic staff. And because of that situation, the school was so bad. So when they employed the teachers, they also included the government teachers. They give them little incentive.
KEFFESO has built a teachers' quota for us, which have helped our educational system. The students that were unable to read before can read now because of the work done by KEFFESO to employ teachers.
My job is to monitor the teachers because FESTMP bring this idea to the KEFFESO communities because of lack of teachers in the school systems. That is why FESTMP come up with this idea. Anyone that is not coming to teach, the monitor will report to them.
Alongside infrastructure, targeted support, including scholarships and learning resources, is reducing the financial burden on families and enabling more children to remain in school. Healthcare access, once defined by distance and delay, is being brought closer to the communities through the first E&P and NNPC JV. Through annually coordinated outreach programs, essential services are reaching people who previously had limited or no access to medical care. Preventive screenings, treatment for common conditions, and health education are reducing avoidable illnesses and improving overall well-being. Additionally, the KHCDT has ensured the availability of service personnel by employing 18 community health extension workers and providing monthly incentives to 14 government employees stationed in the communities. For many residents, this represents more than convenience. It is the difference between neglect and care, between risk and stability.
Since we started working here, the KEFFESO look into the condition and say, no, let us employ people. And the employer say, at least a little bit when somebody come here, we have not recorded any deaths like that. Or rushing people outside die on their, at least even if we want to do a refer, we will give them a first aid before they will go to that place and they will go and come back safely.
I rate KEFFESO 99% because although me I be no get work and this work I try to use, they help myself, they help my family, even though you know big, I appreciate them because of this their money way they give me. I feel help my daughter when they go school. I feel help many people.
Infrastructure and water access form the foundation of daily life, and both are being strengthened. concrete walkways are presently being constructed in communities in alignment with the revalidated 5-year Community Development Plan. In addition, legacy infrastructure projects, mainly concrete roads, are being constructed and fulfilled in line with the promises made during the Global Memorandum of Understanding era, which predates the PIA era.
This road started sometime, by then we were in KEFFESO. So they said they want to give us road, a concrete road. The community came, they look after the areas. They said this place is okay.
Clean water systems are reducing reliance on unsafe sources, directly addressing waterborne diseases and improving household health. These are not isolated upgrades. They are foundational changes that enable mobility, productivity, and dignity.
Last year, when this KEFFESO make up this mind to make up this water project, this water is odorless, tasteless, and colorless. That's the value of a water.
Now wey this clean one they come, we dey appreciate them because I believe say by this new one rashes no go dey for people body.
It has been a long time that I see this kind of a clean water in this community, and by the grace of God today, I'm seeing it. So we are happy and want to thank them for doing this work for us.
Economic empowerment initiatives are shifting livelihoods from survival-based activity to structured income generation. At the moment, studies on micro, small and medium enterprises are ongoing in the various KHCDT communities. This will enumerate the existing enterprises, identify business opportunities and networks, areas of competitive advantages identified, and the list of potential partners. Eventually, entrepreneurship training, financial support, and skills acquisition programs for individuals will be organized to build sustainable sources of income. This will reduce dependency on informal, high-risk financial systems and create pathways for local economic growth. As individuals become economically active, the ripple effects extend beyond households, strengthening community resilience and reducing social vulnerability. Crucially, KHCDT is expanding the definition of who development must serve. In March 2026, the Trust convened a strategic engagement session in Yenagoa focused on people living with disabilities, a group historically excluded from planning processes and access to opportunities. The session brought together stakeholders to address inclusion not as an afterthought, but as a core development principle grounded in accessibility, representation, and equity. The outcome of the exercise will be used to develop a hands-on support program for people living with disabilities across the KEFFESO communities. It signals a shift from generalized development to intentional inclusion, ensuring that no segment of the community is overlooked.
These are important opportunities that we have been vying for, due to one or two challenges facing persons with disability. If since there is a program like this to know our challenges and how they can render help or empowerment program to help persons with disability, I believe that is a starting point that most of us can make so much achievements through this program and excel.
After this stage, this verification stage, we will now come up with the actual program which will integrate the disability persons in our various communities.
I am so happy to be here today. KEFFESO is trying to see how they can come in to assist persons with disabilities in Bayelsa State. And people are trying to give us listening ears to attend to our problems. That is like a stepping stone for us, and we are believing that a whole lot would be done, and our people would smile.
Under the Petroleum Industry Act, KHCDT operates within a clearly defined financial and governance framework, managing a structured 3% contribution from operating expenditure. These resources are not distributed arbitrarily. They are planned, tracked, and aligned with community priorities through transparent processes. This structure introduces consistency, accountability, and long-term planning, replacing fragmented interventions with coordinated development.
They have to take ownership of every project that they undertake. We're very careful about our impact. We don't impact the environment, we don't impact the community structures in such a way that it would undermine sustainable development after us. And for the community to recognize that because the settler will leave, eventually when the settler leaves, you have to manage those projects and ensure sustainability.
Youth development is being approached with strategic intent. Leveraging on the federal government's technical and vocational education and training initiative, young people from KEFFESO communities are being sponsored by the Trust in the Education Program, which emphasizes hands-on training with practical tools. This approach moves beyond theoretical education, focusing instead on employable skills, entrepreneurship, and self-reliance. By investing early in skills acquisition, the Trust is addressing unemployment at its root, creating pathways for productivity and long-term stability.
We really appreciate our KEFFESO for bringing all these things for us. We really appreciate it.
We are concentrating more on everything technical, and we are doing what we know will benefit the children even after they are schooling here.
Please make sure that you make good use of these things. As you are here today, you are now ambassadors of KEFFESO communities. If you do well in this program, the Trust will continue to sponsor more children from your communities.
The long-term objective extends beyond immediate impact. KHCDT is building systems by training HCBOT, HCMC, and HCAC committees, structured planning processes, and community capacity that can sustain development independently. This ensures that progress is not tied to a single intervention cycle, but embedded within the communities themselves. It represents a tradition from dependency to continuity.
The legacy I want to put in place before I leave office is to see that members of the KEFFESO communities will be returning back to their communities, because we will by then provided a lot of infrastructure deficit that has been identified.
Across KEFFESO communities, the results are becoming visible in improved living conditions, expanded opportunities, and renewed confidence. More importantly, they are becoming sustainable, rooted in systems, driven by communities, and supported by structured investment. KEFFESO Host Community Development Trust is not just delivering projects, it is demonstrating a model where communities lead, resources are accountable, and development becomes enduring. A model not only for the Niger Delta, but for any region seeking to turn resource wealth into shared prosperity.